And greetings, everybody. Welcome to the Aerie Fun Live. I'm your host, Harry, and your co-host, Justin. Or Stacy, I'm sorry. I'm so used to your avatar name. Welcome, everybody, to today's show. As we are here for the Aerie Fund, helping support water.org today and the ripple effect happening throughout the month of March here. Worldwide, not just game-wide, not just for us, but of course for the world, helping people get water. Now, of course, we've been doing all sorts of community causes here, and we've got special guests tonight. We've got a special video from the founder of water.org, the good folks over there sent us a special video from him for you folks tonight. And before we bring that to you, of course, we've been bringing you all sorts of community causes. And Stacy's got a few, and again, I've talked about this on my other show, but let's talk a little bit about all the detrimental effects of people without water out there. I mean, people who don't have access to water, Stace.
Yeah, water.org is an international nonprofit organization that has positively transformed millions of lives around the world through access to safe water and sanitation. Founded by Gary White and Matt Damon, and Gary is in the video this evening, water.org pioneers market-driven financial solutions to the global water crisis. For more than 25 years, they've been providing families with hope, help, and the opportunity to break the cycle of poverty. And you were talking about some of the facts. I think we talked about some of these last month too, and I know you guys are talking about them on NBNN, Lunch with Laz and Jack. 844 million people lack access to safe water. 2.3 billion people lack access to a toilet. And I know you keep hearing us say this, but isn't it shocking that more people have access to a mobile phone than to a toilet? Every 90 seconds, a child dies from a water-related disease. Yeah, it is ridiculous. Water, sanitation, and hygiene-related diseases kill nearly 1 million people each year. And globally, 1/3 of all schools lack access to basic water and sanitation. That's at school, a place where you should be safe and cared for. Water.org is dedicated to changing this, empowering families through access to affordable financing and expert resources to make household water and toilet solutions a reality.
Yeah, a lot. Again, I just I hear those statistics and I go, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way we can help. And of course, we found the way through the Aerie Fund. Now, the Aerie Fund was created through video gaming, and we continue to this day to bring our cause to gamers everywhere, trying to get people gaming for a cause. And so far, so good. The gaming community's been absolutely wonderful when it comes to helping out and joining in on these causes. And the developers of video games are actually doing this. That's one of the ways we got started with all this. But let's go ahead and get up on screen that video here. And I got to do this to see that over there. And get the proper video in the proper place.
While you're doing that, Harry, I want to take a moment to remind people that when you play Shroud of the Avatar, they have a Make a Difference store, and in that Make a Difference store, you will find safe water and sanitation items that you can purchase, virtual items. There are water wells, there are cloaks, there are different things in there. The newest thing in there is the Cobalt indoor toilet that I think we're going to have a picture of a little bit later on.
Yes,
but we want to remind you that you can,
that stuff.
By playing Shroud of the Avatar and supporting that Make a Difference store, then you're helping to make a difference in the lives of people who really need safe water and sanitation.
Indeed. And let's go ahead and roll this here. Again, this came directly from the folks, and a special video from the founder himself. I'm going to roll this and put it up for you.
My name is Gary White, co-founder and CEO of Water.org. In 2009, I teamed up with Matt Damon to launch Water.org to help end the global water crisis. At first, the crisis seemed so simple to solve. Spend money to provide water and raise money for the next village. It became clear that charity alone was not going to solve the crisis. There had to be a better path to providing the world with clean water. What we found was that those who lacked access to clean water actually had water nearby, but needed a little help to bring that water to them.
Did you take out a loan for this water tap?
Yeah.
Great.
Through programs like Water Credit, we can help people tap into their power as customers and save the charity for those living in extreme poverty. Imagine if we could provide microloans to even half of those currently without water, freeing up charitable resources to build infrastructure for the other half.
What's the repayment rate then?
99.9%.
Okay.
Together, with this approach, we can end the global water crisis. This is the challenge we face, but one we can overcome in our lifetime.
And that was that video, and some interesting stuff actually going on there with using the people's ingenuity and their own motivation to help fund the water crisis in their areas. Of course, micro loans is a very interesting concept on that, and again, I hate the thought of people not having water. I mean, I remember years ago that when I first heard people saying they were going to be selling bottled water in stores. I mean, how many people thought the same thing? Bottled water, I get that out of a tap. What am I going to pay for water for? But goes to show you that things you just can't control, and getting water out to people, that's going to be one of those ways. But anyway. Stacy, what else we've got on the water.org front for the folks out there today?
Well, we want to talk a little bit about the ripple effects that we're doing in game. We mentioned that. You can go to aeriefund.org and click on campaigns to make a donation to get involved in the ripple effect, which is going to fund water.org. And you can also, like we were discussing earlier, get involved by purchasing those items from the Shroud of the Avatar Make a Difference store.
The Make a Difference store, and that's part of how we got here as well, making a difference out there. Now, of course, the Make a Difference store is part of the store in Shroud of the Avatar, where they've put items in the store that you can buy as a gamer. And part of the purchase price, I believe, it's up to 50% of certain items. And Starr will give us a little bit more in detail on that. Back to the charities that they support by those items. One of those items is a toilet bowl, which I love, and we'll be showing you that in a little bit here as well. But moving right along, let's break out the next video. And let's get into the meat of today's show, because I really want to dig into this, and I want to dig into how all this got to where it is and how we got where we are today. And get the next video loaded. Pardon me, folks. The magic doesn't happen automatically around here. And I hope I've got the right one. I believe I do.
We hope you do too.
Yes. Now, of course, this is part of what makes Shroud of the Avatar as interesting as it is, and the community giving part we'll get back to. But, of course, our special guest tonight is Starr Long, and we're going to be questioning him as to how they got into the charitable giving, as well as the latest project set to launch here in a couple weeks. Shroud of the Avatar. Now, the community got together after they asked for some input, and this was the latest community trailer. It's a little dated, but not as dated as the other one we had. And we're going to go ahead and show you this one, and then we'll go ahead and get into meeting Starr Long and getting on with the questions that you all want to find out about. And there we have it. That was the intro to the player-made intro to Shroud of the Avatar, showing off all the interesting things that are done out there in the world. And we're going to get to the meat of it. Of course, we have with us executive producer Starr Long this evening. Starr, how are you tonight? Welcome to tonight's show.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, indeed. Is always great to have you. Been a while since I've had the pleasure of sitting down with you. And of course, tonight I have a beautiful co hostess helping to ask tonight's questions and taking questions from the audience. And love some of the answers that we've already seen. Of course, when promoting what we saw yesterday, and people are out there going, "What did you see? What did you see?" And I says, "Well, you're going to have to wait and see if Starr lets you all in on it himself." But let's start right off. Shroud of the Avatar is getting ready to launch here in a couple of weeks. It's been a project you guys have been working on for a couple of years, and one of the fundamental things you guys have done since the beginning is, of course, donate back to charities. So how did we get started with that official? Let's start with that since we're doing the water.org ripple effect cause.
Yeah, so it actually started with the folks doing Rise Up Gaming, and so they were doing. They had already been doing an annual fundraiser each year. So the Streamathon, and so they had been doing an annual Streamathon, and Kazan Phoenix Fire was kind of leading up that group, and he contacted us and asked if we wanted to do something with Shroud of the Avatar as part of that. We said, hey, that would be great. And so at first it started a little just informally of us just participating in that stream. But then Dallas Snell, who was one of the founders of the company, wanted to make it something more formal. And so we decided that we wanted to expand our add-on store to include items where we would donate part of the proceeds to charities that we would go and vet. We would make sure that they had good ratings with the groups that review charities, and then we would donate some of the proceeds. And one of the interesting, and water.org was actually one of the very first that we chose. They were actually, yeah. They were the first one that we chose as part of that formal process. So it's interesting that you guys are doing this and we're having this talk, because that was actually the first one we chose. And they've been great, really a pleasure to work with, and they always have. They're very participatory. In fact, out of all the groups that we work with, they are the most participatory. They constantly send us little thank you notes. They have constant suggestions about, hey, you guys, what about doing this and what about doing that? And the Kobold toilet actually was their idea because of World Toilet Day. And so they say, hey, so can you guys put a toilet in the game? We're like, sure, why not? Let's put a toilet in the game. Of course, we had to be weird about it and make it a steampunk toilet, not just a normal toilet. So that's how it started. And one of the things that for us that when we were doing our research about it, that was pretty striking for us was when we looked at how other companies handled this and what the kind of the percentages that they donated. The percentages were actually pretty low. If you look at how much most companies donate, not to throw other companies under the bus, but most other companies, the actual most they donate is probably around 10% at most. And so we were like, well, that's not a lot of money. So we intentionally chose a much higher percentage. So we donate 50% for almost everything. There's only a few items that we donate less than that, based on what they are or who we're donating to. But
Yeah, I was gonna say most of them I know are 50%. There's very few that you guys do less than that for, which is
Yeah,
I think
anything that's
absolutely
in
amazing.
Yeah, so anything that's in dedicated full time in the Make a Difference store that's branded for the charity. So if it's water.org or autism awareness or one of those. So if it's branded for those things, it has the name of the charity in the item. Those are usually almost always 50%. We So that's how we got it started. And then slowly over time, as other groups have done things with other charities, we've slowly added a charity every now and then. I've always been a big supporter and participant in Movember, grown a mustache every year for them. And so we added them recently. And as we've added, and most recently we had a meeting with you guys, the Aerie Fund, and it's a kind of a slow process to add items because we have to build the item and things like that. And we were like, well, how could we rapidly expand the number of items in the store? And so we had this brainstorm session with you guys, and we came up with a really great idea, which is, what if we tagged a whole bunch of items that we didn't make custom, so they wouldn't necessarily be custom made items, but they were close enough that, so anything, for instance, anything that had anything to do with water, let's just say that's tied to close enough to water.org that we'll donate some of the proceeds. So we went from just custom things to literally anything that has anything to do with water, we donate 10%. So anything that's custom made for water.org, that's 50%. But literally any item in our store that has anything to do with water, whether it's a water themed home or it's a fountain or whatever, that's 10%. And so that we went from, I think before we did that, we had, about 50 items for our Make a Difference store to probably 250 items now that are tagged for charitable giving. So that's rapidly increased the amount of money we can give to charities. And it's really funny too to see the reactions we get sometimes when we send the checks.
Now, I was going to ask about that myself.
Yeah.
There's stories from you guys that you guys get letters going, well, thank you. What's this for? And they didn't even know that you guys were doing any kind of. You want to tell the folks about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, with charities, it's not like you have to sign up to participate with them. You don't have to really get approval or anything. So it's not like we asked permission to start collecting money for any of these guys. And so sometimes the first contact that they get from us is a check, and they get this check and they're like, wait, you're a video game and you're just giving us a check for 10 grand? Like, what, why, what, how did you get 10 grand? And because some of these organizations are familiar because they've been part of streamathons, or like with Penny Arcade or something like that. But some of them they've never had any kind of participation with gaming, and so it's been kind of a shock. I mean, a pleasant shock, obviously. But
I'm sure.
They've been very surprised. Water.org is a great example. I mean, they've never had any kind of participation with gaming prior to us, and so they were pretty shocked and pleasantly surprised, and maybe that's why they've been so participatory. But they've been really happy.
Yeah, they've been pretty nice, from what I understand. I haven't actually dealt with them. That would be Stacy and Thex, and Stacy. Well, she can tell you.
They were so excited when I had my first contact with them. The person that I was speaking with was fairly new to the company, and she hadn't actually seen any of the in-game items. So I was taking screenshots of the items in the game and sending them to her. And she actually said her brother plays the game. So
wow,
that's pretty exciting.
Cool. Very cool.
Well, are we ready to move on to our questions?
Oh, we're ready whenever you are. Of course, we got started with the pertinent question: is how we got started with the charitable giving, and always
Of
great to
course.
hear. And of course, the Aerie Fund has gotten really into what we're doing with this, and we hope to take this way beyond just where we're at now. But right now, it's a great start for us, and we're just happy to be able to lend a helping hand, doing what we can.
Yeah, it's really. I've been really stunned at the amount of participation and money raised that this community has done. I mean, it is humbling and amazing, and just it shows the power of connection and how tribes can be created that didn't exist before, and how they can support each other and and bring good in this world. And it's it's why I make games like this. It's why I make games that bring social connection. And so it's great. So thank you guys for doing this. I mean, it it really is why games like this can make the world a better place.
Indeed.
Well, we
Yeah.
talk about being able to make a difference by gaming, and I have to tell you that I think it's really interesting and important that the community in Shroud of the Avatar is so active and so philanthropic. I think you'll find that if you talk to anybody that's in the Aerie Fund, we were all pretty surprised too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, again, if somebody would have told me I'd be, doing what we do with the Aerie Fund several years ago when I decided to play a video game, uh, I would have said, "Nah, you're crazy. Come on now. I'm just here to help support the, creativity of the game and the community." And the next thing you know, here we are. But happy to be here, and of course, happy that things are working the way they are. So. Let's go right in, Stacy. I'm going to let you drive the boat as it may be on this, because I know you have some particular questions. Now, we know Starr, as per your email, that how anal you can get about things, and you went through and formatted all the questions pre-show, and Stacy actually has spent the last couple of days, I want to say. I won't go as far as weeks, might have been weeks, going over past interviews and those odd questions that never got answered. So we're gonna have some fun with this, and we're just gonna go down the list, no
Okay.
necessary order, and find out a little bit about the man himself, Starr Long, and of course, Shroud of the Avatar, the project that you're leading, and we're getting ready to release here in a couple of weeks. So, Stacy, if you would,
Well,
please.
let's start with the most important question, obviously, which is Star Long a stage name?
No, that is my real name. So it was 1970. And so then full pause. You can use a lot of your imagination there. But then
I'm
I'll
afraid
add
of.
I'll add a few more details. So my mom was a big fan of a comic strip of a female detective named Brenda Starr, with two R's. And both my parents were huge fans of the Beatles. And so that's my real name. My dad's last name was Long, Long. And and Long is, there are some Longs in Louisiana and North Carolina. And so that's my real name, Starr Long.
I would have never guessed that to be Louisiana native because I got to be honest, it doesn't end with an X. So
Well, so the other part of my the other part of my Louisiana family is Goodo. So there you go. Who were actually granted land by Louis the 16th. My great uncle was a doctor in Louis the 16th's army, and when he retired, he was granted land, and they actually named this town Goodo, Louisiana, after him. So,
That's awesome. My
Amazing.
boss is a
Yeah.
font node, just so you know.
oh no, there you go. Yeah.
So tell us how you got into role playing games.
So I was in middle school, just starting out middle school, and I was in the library. My mom was a librarian, and was walking past a room, and I heard someone say, "You walk into the room, and there's an orc." And I was already a huge I had read Tolkien and C.S. Lewis, and so actually multiple times by this point. And so I was already a huge fantasy and science fiction fan. So this was like, I was like, what is happening? Like, why are they talking about these things? And I saw little miniatures on the table and some dice, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? And they were like, well, this is Dungeons and Dragons. And I was like, oh, Dungeons and Dragons. Oh my God, what? Please tell me more. And so that was my first introduction. And I immediately convinced my mom to buy me the basic Dungeons and Dragons set. And started playing. But then that quickly escalated, and I played pretty much every paper RPG there was. So Dungeons and Dragons, then Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, Gamma World, Car Wars, Bushido, Traveler, Paranoia. I mean, just on and on and on. Like it, so it was a great time. It was. But that's how I got started. Yeah.
When you think back,
That's
the
a
list
sizable
of
list.
paper games alone is incredible, and the list of actual games that not many people, comparatively sit down and play D&D that I know of anymore.
Well,
Yeah,
tell
I
us
miss
about your
those
first.
days.
Tell us about your first character in an RPG.
So my first character was in D&D, and he was a character named Buckthorn. And this was no. And so what's funny is, of course, I ended up playing Blackthorn later, but that is pure coincidence.
Purely coincidence? Okay,
Because
I like that.
Buckthorn was named after the really tough guy rabbit in Watership Down. So if you ever read Watership Down, which I
Okay.
loved that book, and the tough guy rabbit was named Buckthorn, and I loved that name and I loved that character, and so I named my fighter character after him, and so that was my first character. But my favorite character ever that I ever did in an RPG was a character named Dilbian, and he was an intelligent bear in Gamma World who had force field powers. And he was named, and I always named my characters after other stuff. Like I didn't just make up names; they were always named after something. And he was named after these bear-like aliens in a Gordon R. Dixon book called Space Paw, who I discovered. Everything has this trail, right? So I discovered this book because I had this other book called Barlow's Guide to Extraterrestrials, which is this amazing book of illustrations. So Wayne Douglas Barlow is this amazing illustrator, and he made this book that's this collection of drawings of aliens from famous science fiction books. And the drawings are just, he did it like a science book. So they're like cross sections and really beautifully done anatomical drawings, and just amazing work. But anyway, so the name of this alien race were Dilbians. But I didn't have that many characters because surprisingly, I know this is going to be such a surprise, I ended up being the game master most of the time. So I know that's so weird. Who can
We
imagine?
never
That's
would have guessed
shocking!
that.
So
Never would have
shocking.
guessed. Now, quick follow-up. I know we asked earlier if that was a real name or a stage name, and coming out of chat here, is a question from somebody I think may even know this, but what's Starr's middle name? Do you have a middle name?
Oh, yeah. So my middle name is Macaulay, and that's my great grandmother's maiden name, and she was Irish. And I actually, and we well Scotch Irish, and so we were a really minor clan, the Macaulays. We're in fiefdom to like three other clans, so it's actually really hard to get our tartan. So like you can't just like if you're like a McDonald or something like that, it's pretty easy to get your tartan. So like if you want to get a kilt, you can usually just buy your kilt off the shelf. But like if you're a Macaulay, like and you want to get a kilt, so these are, I know this is like trivia no one wants to know, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
You'll be
So if you want to get your, because I always wanted a kilt. I always wanted a kilt of like the Macaulay tartan, but I had to be satisfied as with a scarf that my
Now,
mom made me.
do you
Because that's
actually
all.
have to have it custom made to go that far, or is that what it is?
Yeah, well, it's because again, you're not going to be able, you can't just go to like a kilt store and buy like the Macaulay tartan
You
kilt,
can't buy
because
a plain red and black one like Glaz and Jack did and wear them around. It's
No,
not
it
the
has to
same.
be
well, no, that's
correct
not my
tartan.
tartan. That's not my
Gotcha,
tartan.
gotcha.
So the Macaulay tartan is red and, well, it's actually this very Christmassy tartan. It's red and white and green.
Okay.
Now, and I still have the scarf that my mom made. She's like, you're just gonna have to be satisfied with the scarf because that's all the fabric I'm gonna buy. So
There you go.
she made me a scarf. So that's my middle name, Macaulay.
And that's
Macaulay. Yeah.
And there you
Yeah.
go. There's the answer to that question.
Oh, and so my initials are SML, which was always funny because small, medium, large. There you go.
Very cute. Very cute.
That is cute. So my tartan is green and blue and white.
Okay.
My maiden name is Ferguson. So yeah.
All right.
So we got a lot of questions from the community, and what I didn't see in here, they asked questions about your theater, your history in the theater, and some other things. But what I didn't see asked, but I've heard you answer before on other interviews, is how you ended up in Austin.
Oh, right. So I got a degree in theater, an undergraduate degree, and I when I was in college, I took a really heavy course load, like a lot of hours. A lot of it was because I wanted to try a bunch of different stuff. Like I took ceramics, and actually at one point decided I'm going to be a ceramic sculptor. That sounds cool. That was some wasted hours, but it was fun, and still have some really cool ceramic sculpture. Anyway, so I got kind of burnt out by the end, and like my plan was to go to graduate school, but I decided to take a year off, and had some friends who lived in Austin, and they were in a band, and they were actually the band. They were a band that I had done lights for in high school. So when we were in high school, I built a light board and lights out of coffee cans and floodlights and a piece of plywood and wall switches. So me and my friend me and the drummer Aaron figured out my dad both of our dads helped us like figure out like basic electrical engineering, like how do you wire up wall switches and wall sockets, and we built a light board. And so they had a band here in Austin, and I had visited Austin. I was like, Austin's great. I'm just going to take off a year. I'm going to go live in Austin. I'm going to work in the community theaters there. Surely there'll be enough work. There were like 4 or 5 of them. Surely there'll be enough work doing that for a year before I go back to school, which is, idiotic. Like there's not enough work doing that. So I needed a real job. And so like flipping through the paper, there was a job ad that said video game testers wanted, and I'm looking for a real job. This is the most ridiculous part of this story. I'm not making money in theater, And so I'm going to look for a real job, and I see a job for game testers.
Playing video games.
Right. Well, and this is in 1992, right? So, like no one's ever heard of game testers.
Who's going to pay you to do that?
Well, barely anyone's heard of a job in video games, period, much less in game testing. So my friends and I sitting around are like, there's no way that this is a real job. Like, you're going to show up, it's going to be a psychology experiment at the University of Texas. They're going to be like, oh, you're the kind of person who would show up to answer this ad. Can you answer a bunch of demographic questions and like take this psychology test for us?
And tell us what this ink blot looks like to you?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and how many drugs are you on? And so, but it was a real job.
I'd like to take some of these test drugs.
Yeah. Pharmaco.
Pharmaco.
And so, by the way, I had a really amazing, never mind, I'm not going to talk about it. So that was how I got started at Origin. I answered that ad and I got started working at Origin. And that's how I ended up in Austin. But I didn't plan to live in Austin. I had planned to just spend a year here and then go to graduate school.
Now, I was just reading an article just recently where you mentioned your first real interaction with Richard. Now, Richard didn't initially hire you into Origin. Is that the way I understand that?
Well, I was actually hired through a temp agency. So in fact, the job ad, even the first interview that I did was so the job ad didn't say Origin Systems. When I went to interview at the first interview was at the temp agency. So it wasn't even at Origin. They didn't even tell me it was going to be at Origin, even at that first interview. I didn't even know the job was going to be at Origin until I showed up for my first day. And it was like, holy shit, I'm at Origin Systems.
No kidding.
Like, and so I didn't even know it was at Origin. I didn't even know it was going to be Richard Garrett, yada, yada, yada. Like, yeah. So I didn't meet, I think I met Richard for the first, I actually don't have a clear memory of the first time.
The article went on to say that one of your first memories was that you were working QA and you were getting ready to quit when he had stopped by and said something to you that made you change your mind. You know.
Oh yeah. So well, what happened was so in the early days of the video game business. And this is actually how I moved out of game development into production. Game development basically happened through sheer force of will. There really wasn't any kind of that project management to speak of. It was really just, we're going to work as hard as we can till we fall asleep in the bunk beds in the kitchen. There were bunk beds in the kitchen. And then we'll wake up and work some more. I mean, that's kind of how it was. And so I was one of those guys saying, we could do things like milestones and stuff, and there are project management books. And so why don't you guys let me help, get into the development side and let's do schedules and stuff. And so they were like, well, put your money where your mouth is. Let's do that. But before that happened, basically what all this meant is there was a lot of crunch, like constant overtime, especially in QA, because what would happen is the product development teams would go through these long periods of crunch. They would ship, they would take a break, and then they would go, they would go back to they would take a break, then they would come back, they would do some normal hours, and they would crunch. But when you were in QA, you were basically always in crunch. Because you were always good. The next project would come along, and they were, of course, late. They needed to be out, and so you were constantly crunching. And I was like, "Screw this! I'm not like." I was over the honeymoon by then. I mean, I loved that job. I mean, I loved being in video games. I thought it was like the greatest thing ever. I wanted to do it for the rest of my life. I wanted to run the company, but I was at this point where I was just so burnt out, and I was like, I can't take anymore. I'm leaving. And my boss at the time, Kay Gilmore, who was just an amazing boss. Like she did such an amazing job leading me and growing me as a person. she sat me down and Richard came in too, and they were just like, look, you cannot leave. You have such an amazing future. You are going to do such great things. You cannot leave. Like, take a couple of days off, but do not leave. And so, and I'm at this point, I'm just a QA guy. Like, it's not like I'm like running a project. I mean, I'm leading some QA project, but I'm not. And I've been at the company like a couple of years at that point. But again, the fact that Richard would come sit down in the office to convince me to stay, like that made a very long impression.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
It was an interesting read, and of course, knowing that we were going to have you, I had to ask about that because,
Yeah.
again, Richard gives you all the credit when it comes to past projects like Ultima Online, and again here in Shroud and Avatar, and again with the awesome lead that you become, it was interesting to see. That there was a point back in time where you could have just thrown up your arms, walked out, and never have been in that position. So, it was a really interesting story.
Yeah.
So what's it like working for Lord British as a job?
It's great. I mean,
working for the man himself. Yeah, good question.
Yeah, I mean, you alluded to it a little bit in your comment there, Laz. I mean, how much. I mean, it's testament to basically everyone always starts off with this assumption that Richard made Ultima Online, and he always starts off interviews or stories or talks with. I always get he always starts off with this. He has this little I, Richard Garriott, always get credit for Ultima Online. But it's really, Starlong and his team, and like if I'm there, he always like makes sure to point to me or pull me up in there.
Crowd, absolutely,
and like every single time, and like there are a lot of people in the industry who do not do that, and would never even think to do that, and that's just the kind of person he is. Like it's not about him. Like it's about what he wants to make. Like all he really cares about is making a cool experience for people to play in. Like he just wants to make these really insanely detailed worlds for people to interact with. That tell a story and that make people, think about the choices they're making. And not just think about the choices they're making in the game, but the choices they make in their lives, and that is why it's like just such a pleasure to work with him. And I think one of the things that's also good for me about that's working with Richard, is we often joke about how we're kind of we have this sort of Lennon-McCartney relationship where we do our best work together. That we just complement each other really well. That he's this kind of creative tornado, and I sort of I kind of follow the tornado and like make sure that all this amazing creative
take out the
mess,
wrong trailer park. Is that
actually pick up all the pieces and make sure okay we're going to get that done and that's a really cool idea, but let's get that fixed and get that make sure and and make sure all that energy is harnessed and focused and get that on time. Make sure it happens. And so we have this really just great balance between the two of us. So it's always a lot of fun. And he always just wants to explore and create and experience things. And it's just really inspiring.
Is that a shameless plug for his book?
It's not. It should be.
Yeah.
If not, it is now.
But I mean, that's the funny thing. I mean, like you can't, like it's not, but you can't help but use those terms when you talk about it.
Oh, indeed.
That's how he lives his life.
Reason many of us are here is because we love exploring the worlds that he's created, and it keeps bringing people back. And of course, we know that a lot of the community in the world out there is happy to have you right there with them creating this next world. But again, many more questions to be had out here. Commentary. He's the PB tier J. I like that. Absolutely. Is But we have more questions, of course. And Stacy?
What do your family and friends think about you making video games a career, and how has that perception changed over time?
So at first
From
it
the
was a
haha,
little
you're gonna play video games for a living? Yeah. Okay.
yeah, I mean, it was pretty incredulous. Wait, what? What are you doing? Again, kind of going back to the origin story. It was pretty incredulous. Like, wow, that's real. Like, what? You're getting paid to do that? I'm like, yeah, actually, it's really hard work. I mean, it's awesome. But over time, it's and it's funny too because you can kind of map it to the kind of culture shift that's happened where games have kind of become ubiquitous now, and like everybody games, and everyone's become a gamer, and games have become so mainstream now. And it's really funny to see too as my generation started having kids, and where it became like for my friends to have a friend who was in the game business became really cool to have me as a friend, so it became I became a bit of for some of my friends a bit of a trophy, and same with my extended family, like, oh, we have the family member
have a
who makes
game
a game.
developer in the family,
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Although it's funny because I make such sort of niche games, and sort of so often it's well, do you make Madden or do you make Call of Duty? And I'm like, well, no, I don't really make
No.
those games. I make kind of weirder, more obscure stuff than that. And they're like, oh, okay. And then their eyes kind of glaze over.
Well,
But mostly, my family's was always super proud and supportive, and really happy that. I mean, mainly they were happy that I was doing something I really.
now let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
Is you've taken what started out as a giggle and a laugh when you said you were going to go answer this ad to get a real job, and here we are.
Mm-hmm.
How many years later, you've managed to make quite the living out of it, raise a family, and become one of the top names in the industry for creating some of these specialized video games. But there's quite the list. You want to tell the folks who might not know about some of the things you did in the past besides working with Richard?
Yeah, so I started Origin. I did Ultima Online, and we left that. We left Origin, and we founded Destination Games, and got acquired by NCSoft, and then we did Tabula Rasa. After that, I worked at Disney, and then I did a bunch of learning games. I ran the Virtual World Studio. I oversaw moving Club Penguin over to mobile, and then I did this. And I've done some consulting, I've served on advisory boards for teaching stuff for the University of Texas and Austin Community College and other places like that. Guest lectured at places like Art Center School of Design in Pasadena, and UT and Austin Community College, and yeah, so that's kind of my.
Very cool.
What was your favorite thing to build in Fallout 4?
Oh, I really obsess on all the base building, specifically building the best walls I could possibly build and the turrets, and then outfitting my settlers with the absolute best gear they could possibly have. Mainly laser rifles and really good armor, to the point where I think at this point I think I probably spent like 400 plus hours in Fallout 4, and I did the story sorta. I mean, I did the story.
Sorta.
I mean, I did the story, but I messed around with all the base stuff, and I had every single settlement you could have. I had them all connected with trade routes. So yeah, it was great.
So besides obviously Fallout 4 and Shroud, what other games have you been? What other games have you been playing recently?
Middle Earth, Shadow of War, Dishonored 2, Prey, Elder Scrolls Online, Hearthstone, Stellaris, No Man's Sky, FTL, A Dark Room, Plague Incorporated, and the Insect.
Where do you find the
I
time?
was just gonna ask that.
So I made a commitment to myself a long time ago that I would play a game every day. And
cool.
I, and it's, even if it's only, 15, 20 minutes. And so like some of those are mobile games, like Plague Incorporated is a little mobile game, so is Dark Room and the Ensign and Hearthstone, right? And so sometimes I just get on an FTL too. So sometimes I just get on my iPad or my iPhone and I play a little bit, but sometimes I'll take a little bit more time and I'll go play something like Dishonored 2 or Shadow of War or Elder Scrolls or Fallout 4 or Prey or something like that, or Stellaris, and I'll spend a few hours playing those or our game or whatever. But I try to play something every day just because I think that's important.
Now, that's a good question. How does being a designer affect your playing other games?
I think it's really, really important to consume other entertainment and consume it on a constant basis. And because you, for a lot of reasons. One, I think that you get a ton of good ideas. I think you look at what people are doing in other spaces, and so and I specifically chose entertainment and not just games, right? So watch a lot of TV, go out to movies every weekend. I'm in the Producers Guild, so I'm lucky enough that I get screeners. So even if I can't make it out to see a movie on the big screen, I get the screener at home so I can watch it. And I read a lot, so I think it's important to look at. And also, when you're playing games specifically too, I think it's important not just to play the kind of game that you're making. I think it's important to play different kinds of games. So I play strategy games, I play, card games, I play text-based games, I play shooters, I play straight up single-player RPGs, whatever it is, So just because I think all of them have things that they can say or inform decisions I'm making and what I'm doing.
If you could never play another game of any kind, what would you do with your free time?
Oh, I'd have a lot more free time, first of all. I'd play Legos with my daughter. I'd watch movies. I'd read. Go scuba diving, trail running, mountain biking, see live music. Plenty of stuff.
Now, live music. I see there was a question. We know that you like your live shows. And the question was, name the last handful of live music shows you've been to, or if none recently, who would you like to see come to Austin?
So let's see. I mean, the last live show I saw was LCD Sound System when they played at Austin City Limits Live, and before that it was Shooter Jennings when he played here, and before that it had been a little while, but I went to the Austin City Limits Music Festival where I saw a ton of stuff. That was Run the Jewels and Ice Cube and Crystal Castles and Portugal the Man and Joseph and Gorillaz and Chance the Rapper and Grace Vanderwall. And pretty much every year I do South by Southwest Music Festival and Austin City Limits Music Festival. And I try. Hold on, I got you at the door because they're backing me. I'm at my office late, so now the
Cleaning crews there.
the cleaning staff has showed up. And so in between that, I try to see shows too. But those are my big things: is South by Southwest and ACL. And South by Southwest happens in March, and ACL happens in October. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get to do South by Southwest Music Festival this year because of launch.
That thing called launch getting in the way this year. Hate when that happens.
Yeah, it's gonna thorn in my side to my music listening.
Let's talk a little bit about that thing we call launch, since that's one of the reasons why we're here today. Of course, we've been talking mostly about you and your likes and dislikes and questions from the folks, but it's been almost a little over 4 years of development now.
Yeah, so we started in 2013. So technically, by the time we're done here, it'll be
5 years almost. Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to be celebrating our 3rd anniversary with you guys down there at South by Southwest Gaming. But tell us about Tragedy Avatar. Let me ask right off the bat, how do you feel going into launch of this game here in a couple weeks? How you feeling about that? And tell us your take on you guys getting ready to make that big step into we're really launched.
Well, I mean, as you guys know, monthly releases. So we've been doing monthly releases now. So we started 5 years ago, but for 4 years now, we've been doing monthly releases. So last Thursday of the month, we put out a new release, and we've done that every month. So this is gonna be another monthly release. Basically, the big difference is going to be we're going to start, yelling, "Hey, we're here, we're ready," versus where we kind of been, under the radar before now. So part of me is like, well, it's just another monthly release, and we're going to do one right the next month after that, and the month after that, and the month after that. So the other part of me is, well, this is a big one, slightly bigger than the other ones, because we're actually going to get people to come.
This is the big one.
Other than the hardest car. Yeah. So I'm feeling good. We've made huge strides in performance over the last few releases. We've been making lots of improvements to the new user experience. These last few releases have seen a bunch of the features that we promised during the Kickstarter are finally coming online. We're there, again, we're going to keep doing monthly releases, so it's just going to get better and better every single month. And but I think we're now at this point where we're ready for lots of people to come, and so we're going to go start yelling to people, please come. So
come
we're excited.
Play our game. That's right. Very good. Very good. Stacy, what else we got? I know we got a couple more.
Okay, yeah, we still have some questions from the community. As a man of the theater, what is a role you've always wanted to play but never had the chance, and why?
So that is a great question, and no one. So great job asking me a question that no one's ever asked me. So
we're trying.
And I'm gonna give it a super obscure one to answer to that, because everyone usually says things like, "Oh, well, I want to play Hamlet or Macbeth," which would be awesome. Don't get me wrong; those would be super cool. But I'm gonna give a super obscure one. So there's this character named Pale, and it's in a play called Burn This. I was lucky enough that I got to see this play on Broadway when it premiered when I was a junior in high school in 1987. The role was played by John Malkovich. And the show was the play was good, but John Malkovich was just incredible, and this character was just over the top, like just super super intense. Like every time he would come on stage, he would just like everything just sort of like would fade into the background, like not literally, like what was weird is they didn't do anything with lighting, but just the character was so powerful. And I even would use one of the character's speeches from the play as an audition monologue, and I just love that. And I just read. So when I saw that question, I actually went and looked up because I had actually forgotten the name of this character, so I went to do some. And they're actually doing a revival of this play that's gonna be happening pretty next year, I think. So if you have a chance to see Burn This, it's a great play.
Burn This. Very interesting.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and look at that one. I have not seen that one. So if cost were no obstacle, where in the world would you like to visit?
Well, I've been really lucky. My father always told me that that there's that saying, spend money on experiences, not things. And he was a firm believer on that. So he was always we traveled when we could when I was a kid, but he also encouraged me when I got older to travel. And so I've been fortunate to go to many of the places that I've wanted to go. So been a lot of places: Barcelona, Amsterdam, Mexico, Costa Rica, London, Scotland, Italy, the Caribbean islands, Hong Kong, Shanghai. But there's still some places that I haven't been yet, and I definitely want to go, like Japan, Hawaii, Bali, and Australia. So
hey, we tried to get you to go to Australia with us in April. We tried that one, sir.
They've got a junket going down that way in April.
We were so determined that there was a big group of us actually lobbied the people who are organizing Supernova to get you guys invited as speakers.
Yep.
He says, "Yep."
It would have been awesome, but.
Let's see. Tell us how you maintain the awesome mustache of power. What advice would you have for a young person who wants to grow facial hair?
Well, I don't have it now, unfortunately. Yeah. But it's what's funny is I grew a full beard when I was a senior in high school, and I remember like the first day of my senior year. I was standing in the cafeteria, and one of the teachers thought I was a substitute.
That's funny.
Because and it was really good for buying beer.
I was going to say you were that kid. Okay, I know who you were.
Yeah. So advice for growing facial hair. So well, you have to take care of it as if it's just like regular hair. So it needs to be shampooed. So that's the first thing. So don't wash it with soap and water. Once it gets to a certain length, you don't wash it with soap and water. You gotta shampoo and condition it just like you do regular hair. Once it gets to a certain length. So that's the first thing. And then if you want to style it, like if you want to do the handlebars, like I was doing. Got to use mustache wax, and I was particularly fond of Wild Willie's mustache wax, and you need a mustache wax and a mustache comb. With that said, the reason I always end up shaving my mustache off is because it takes freaking forever to get that thing going every day. Like it's like a 30-minute thing. Like
just for your mustache,
just to get the mustache all like waxed and arranged and and so my wife like would just tease me is like, you're taking longer to get ready than me.
Than she does when she's got her hair.
And she's like, I've already got my makeup on, and she's like, are you ready yet? I'm like, no, it's like, see, I've got still, this one's still not. So be prepared if you want the super styled stash, like allocate a good, 20-ish, 30 minutes once it gets to the super long handlebar to get that thing all set, because it takes a while.
And he's got the snidely whiplash thing. Every time I see you do that, that's all I can.
Yeah.
Well, Laz, do you have any other specific questions, or can we ask a very important question to kind of start rolling out with?
I don't have anything specific. Again, most of the questions I've left for our audience members and the public because, again, I get to ask our questions most of the time throughout the year when other people don't. So I'm not gonna go down that road here. That's not the time nor the place. So please.
Do you have any fun Portalarium stories that you can share with us?
Fun Portalarium stories.
Office stories.
Well, the best stories are actually from our origin days when we used to prank each other incessantly, and we don't prank each other as much, sadly, as we used to. But Richard, in fact, it used to be the most notorious prankster ever. And
that does not surprise me at all.
Like one time he, a little known fact that the very first version of DirectX was co-written by the Origin technology team.
No
and
kidding.
So we sent those programmers to Microsoft to go help write that. But we did that, and we sacrificed some programming time from our games. And so to prank them while they were gone, Richard paid a drywall contractor to come in and drywall their doors away. So the doors, when they came back, they came back and there was no doors to their office.
Drywalled over, and that's too funny.
Yeah. But he gave them when they came in, there was no doors, but there was a skill saw sitting on the ground, so they could. One person had a skill saw, and one person had a sledgehammer.
That's amazing.
That's too funny. That's too funny.
Any fun stories to share with about your current staff that we should know about?
Trying to think of good stuff that we've done, or silly stuff.
And Winfield hasn't come and left any stinky fish in the office. I mean, did they pull any stunts like that?
Well, no, trying to think of the good stuff that we've done.
That sounds like a pretty straight-laced office, if you ask me.
Yeah, I've been there. It's all serious all
serious
the time.
every time we come down. I know that.
Business. That's it.
Well, we did stop the drinking on the telethon, so that.
I have feelings about that, which you probably don't want to know about.
Yeah, I know.
There are several people out there in the community who have feelings about that, but we understand.
Yeah. I don't really have good. I don't. Man.
Well, then let me ask you this. With the impending release of the game, a lot of people have been asking, and I've seen Richard answer this question several times. There is not going to be a wipe. We are in persistence. But
no wipe.
But we do know there is some impending doom heading to the sway of the citizens of the lands of Novia. And the burning question on everybody's mind is, what the heck's going on up there?
Well, I don't, I could give a little bit of a tease, I mean, it may have something to, see these moons behind me, I mean, there's been something, maybe some pieces broken off or something, and it may hit the ground.
Now, in the original trailer for the game, they actually show the animation of the moons smashing together. And for the last several years, the moons have look like they peacefully have been circling the celestial, skies out there and just doing their thing, but all of a sudden something has appeared mysteriously.
Yeah, like yeah, something big in the sky, right? You know, like a big shard.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, that's weird, huh? So yeah, so we've been doing a lot of press, and we gave the press a bunch of screenshots and some B-roll. So B-roll is just like some footage of different scenes in the game. So I could show some B-roll, some video.
I'm sure
Um,
the fans out there would love to see
you know,
it.
so
Now,
yes,
I read in one of the articles published, I believe it was published today, that with the incoming rock, as it may be, for lack of a technical word, there's a new source of magics that may be coming upon the land. Can you tell us about that, or is that just part of the allure of what the press releases are all about?
well, some of that may be press not quite understanding.
Okay, yeah, that's why I'm
Yeah, I
asking
mean
because I've read several of those releases already, and I I haven't heard anything, so I figured we were gonna have you. I would just go straight to that source tonight, but okay, we'll let you present what it is. Or tell the folks.
so part of what when Richard does the interview, these interviews, he also kind of walks them through various scenes in the game, shows them various parts of the game. So the B roll basically shows them a few scenes in the game. So that's what we're. So here, let me just share my screen. Let's see. Is that showing?
It is not. Hold on. I see it in one place, but I have you on full screen. I may have to take you off full screen to do that. No, it's not sharing it. I see it on the other thing. Why can't I see it? There it is. I see. Okay, give me 1 second here.
Here, I'll start it.
I gotta put it over. I see what I had to do. Okay, there we go.
Got it now?
I'm not hearing any audio, so folks, don't worry about that. You're not gonna get that
How about
coming
now?
over, I don't think.
So some of this, most of this everyone's familiar with. Here's like the Isle of Storms. We're showing them that, hey, we have this full, you start off the game above the planet, the shattered moons, and there's one of the scenes in the game, North Quell Woods, one of the adventure areas in the game. And then showing off how there's been all these meteors falling down.
The media storms have been quite impressive.
Yeah.
And beautiful.
And then something might happen to one of the scenes in the game.
Looks
just
a
saying
little
that
devastating.
it looks, something might hit the ground, and that's enough. There you go. That's enough. That's enough to you.
And that's it for you. It's
All right, there you go. There's your teaser.
very cool, very cool. So there you go. There you have it, folks. Oops, wrong screen. Let's get back to where we were. What did I do there?
Last technical difficulties long.
You know it. You know it.
You're supposed to be Harry, no technical difficulties Boyle here, though. We have to talk to your boss about that.
Oh, I know why. Because I had to take Starr off full screen in order to do that, which
And the
caused all the
crowd's going wild
cameras
on
to
Twitch, by the way.
adjust. Yes, I bet they are.
Crowd is going wild.
Crowd's going
Sweet.
wild. They got to see all that great stuff happening. And of course, again, this is going to be part of what happens in the upcoming release of Shroud of the Avatar. And of course, in order to find out more about that, you're going to have to be in game when this happens. Now, of course, Shroud of the Avatar is available free to play for everybody. And can you tell the good folks a little bit about that, how that works, all that? I know we tell them on a regular basis, but
Yeah. So right now the game is available. You can purchase it $39 for game access, and that gets you access to the entire game. So you can play it in offline mode. Everything that's in or everything that's in bundles, everything that's in pledges is available for in-game gold. Or you can play it online in multiple different modes, either solo mode or party mode or open mode with anyone, and or if you just want to try it out before you pay, there's a free trial version, and you can go to our website and click on the free trial button. That allows you can play on the free trial as long as you want. You're just limited to just play to up to a certain level, and you can't trade with other people, and that's just basically to prevent exploits. But other than that, you can play for as long as you want. And we recommend to just try it out for free before you spend money.
yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the things that we've told people time and time again, and we hear it all the time, and we know that you guys have your detractors as well out there, and all we can do is tell you, try it before you buy it, folks. Don't listen to what everybody's got to say, because everybody's got a different opinion. See what you like. Get out there, log into the game. There's plenty of people out there looking to help others, including myself and the rest of the Aerie Fund staff. We're usually in game throughout the day and always willing to help, as well as loads and loads of the other community members out there. So it's just, find somebody wearing a hospitaller tag, and they'll be more than happy to answer those questions. But before we get out of here, Stacy, do we have any other questions? I know that the folks out in Twitch have been having a great time with all this so far, and
They're going crazy, and I want you to know that we even have people that are up right now. It's 4:20 where Rada is, and he wanted to stay up and watch your interview today. That's pretty amazing. It's 4:20 in the morning
some
there.
of our viewers today going, I'm going to be up really late tonight on the other side of the world, and we appreciate those viewers staying up to join us for all this.
Yeah, thank you.
Don't forget, you'll be able to catch this in replays, so don't sweat it if you all missed it. And, of course, we are here for the launch of Shroud and the Avatar and the ripple effect throughout the month of March. We're here with the Aerie Fund on Aerie Fund Live. And before we step away, we're going to bring in Texador to tell us a little bit more about that and the things that he's been working on with the good folks. And Tex, are you there? Are you...
I am here.
He is here. Let's get Tex up on
Yeah.
the screen real quick.
Yeah, it's a real honor for us to have Starr here tonight, and I want to give a special shout out and thank you to Portalarium, Starr and Dallas, and everybody that I've interfaced with there, and the team has interfaced with there has just been phenomenal. They've been so supportive for us. I mean, we literally showed up like a year ago and said, "Hey guys, we just built a 501c3 organization inside of your world and in our world, and let's try to do some good causes together and help gamers in need and do cool causes and just get into the spirit of giving and gaming." And for them to get behind us and crazy idea that we've done is really awesome for us. And I wanted to say thank you to Starr personally, and all the rest of the team there, because soda is extremely dear to my heart, to all of our hearts. It's our origin. That's where we've come from, and we are so stoked for this game to launch. And we are also stoked to be sharing the booth with them at South by Southwest and helping them celebrate their
Looking
big
forward
achievement.
to it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Starr, and thanks for all that you guys have done there. It's so appreciative.
You're welcome.
Now, thanks. I've got just throwing this up on screen, of course.
Sure.
I want to say a big thank you to the art department down there, and of course, again, the staff. The mugs for this community cause is absolutely off the chain. For the community donation.
And that's since Starr's on the line, I got to give him total credit for that. We had a meeting there last month, or I kind of showed a bad Photoshop that I did with a regular beer mug, and I was like, "Can we make this glow? Can we do something easy?" And he's like, "Hold on," Comes back an hour later, and he's like, "I got this." It's so awesome. That and the ripple effect cloak.
Yes, absolutely. And those are just the digital prizes. There are physical prizes available as well, depending on the donation size and amount. And you can get all the relevant information you need there at the aeriefund.org/causes, right? Got to click on the causes link, or is it the...
Yep.
Yes, okay. Just making
Yep,
sure I got
absolutely.
that correct.
Yeah, and if you guys haven't seen the cloak and the mug in game, you gotta check it out. Ping somebody that has it. You can see it before you donate or whatever, but it's totally worth it. One of the coolest party items that you can have when you're going to all the in-game events in New Britannia.
Yeah, the community has got several events going on throughout the month. One of which
Yes,
happened
sir.
today, and another one's happening tomorrow in game. Hannah is running a couple promotions as well as other people. And
Yep.
to date, what have
I'll just go ahead
for this promotion so far?
Yeah, I mean, the ripple effect, we're just blowing it out of the water so far. We've already raised I think we're pretty within $100 or $200 from $3,000, and we've only been doing it for 8 days.
Wow.
We're only a few
Awesome.
days into the month, and the goal is 5,000. We're already that close to 3,000.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're gonna crush it, and we're looking forward to meeting new players at South by Southwest and telling them what we're up to and growing our family. And couldn't be going any better right now. So very, very cool. But yeah, Laz, I got a rundown here of the news and the events. I'll just go through real quick here, so we don't have to.
Absolutely, and let's do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in the Aerie Fund news this week, we were made official Humble Bumble partners. That's part of the folks that do the Humble Indie Bumble. I can never say that. Humble Indie Bundle, and that is game developers that donate products to charitable good. For you donate a certain amount of money and you get every game in their bundle. It's kind of a unique fundraising system. I suggest everyone check it out. But they also now have a digital gaming store where they officially made us a partner. So if you guys are in the market for any games or anything like that, do check out the Humble Bundle store, and that is on the link down there below. And 10 to 15% of all of those purchases come to Aerie Fund.
Very cool.
The Virtue Marathon we ran last month in Austin was a huge success. Team Avatar with members from Portalarium, Aerie Fund, and Merits. We came together. We ran the Austin Marathon. We raised $2,485 for the Children's Miracle Hospital Network. If you guys want to see pictures, go online. You can see them in the Shroud of the Avatar Make a Difference forums, or the Aerie Fund general chat and Discord. Thanks everybody for your support. And also the winners from the Merit sweepstakes for the Aerie Fund shirts were announced, and the winners have been notified, and we will start shipping those next week.
Very cool.
All right. So let's talk about some events. Obviously, the ripple effect is going on. We've talked about that, benefiting water.org and the Aerie Fund all March long. Help end the global water crisis by supporting and playing for a cause. If you guys want to pledge your support, visit the aeriefund.org, go to the campaign page, and select the banner for the ripple effect. All donors of $25 or more will receive the awesome glowing mug and the Ripple Effect cloak. On Saturday, not Saturday, I'm sorry. This actually starts on Thursday. Thursday, March 15th through 17th from 12 to 8 p.m. We're going to be at the South by Southwest Gaming Expo in Austin, Texas. We'll be there with our good friends at Portalarium, like we mentioned. We're celebrating the launch of Shroud of the Avatar. So do stop by and say hello. And again, we're extremely honored to be invited to help them celebrate that big achievement.
Indeed.
On Saturday, March 24th, we're going to be holding the Ripple Effect Streamathon, 24 hours live on Twitch. We'll be doing 24 hours of gaming, contests, prizes, and more. If you're a streamer and want to get involved, contact Aerie. I think you all know who he is, but he can post something in the Twitch feed. He'll be releasing a schedule. He'll be releasing a schedule and a sign-up sheet soon. And just a reminder, first come, first serve on the time slots. Also, we have a streamer resource package that is going to be now available, complete with links, graphics, and more on our website, so you can support the Ripple Effect all month long, anytime you stream.
Very cool.
Now let's talk about a couple quick upcoming community events inside Shroud of the Avatar. On Friday, March 30th, from 4 to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time, Organized Chaos is doing their Ripple Through Time charity fair. Join Andretiana Zazariz in Constitutio Chaos, which is a POT, for a grand fair including a crafting competition, a bardic competition, and PvP Capture the Flag event. Andretiana will also be awarding millions, and that's with an M, of in-game gold, as prizes for the contest. Don't forget to visit her charity vendors on the fairground, and proceeds will benefit the Aerie Fund. And last but not least tonight, we have the Ripple Effect celebration, and this is in two parts at I never say this right, Rotschabierplatz. Bring your glowing Ripple Effect mug and join Hannah Alpenglow for a German-themed celebration of the Ripple Effect with contests, grand prizes, and mini games. If you haven't been to a Hannah Alpenglow event, and this is truth, you must do it. Her gatherings are legendary. On top of that, for every person who attends the celebration, Hannah will be making a generous contribution to the Ripple Effect campaign up to $1,000. How awesome is that, guys? I mean, and how awesome is Hannah for doing it? She puts on some of the best parties awesome for us and for other folks. And further details will be posted in the Shroud of the Avatar forums when she finalizes them. So that's it for our news and events tonight, guys. Do remember to follow us on Twitter and Facebook. And back to you guys.
Alrighty, very cool indeed. And let's go ahead and get this back over here. Back to our special guest, Starr Long. We're going to say thank you to Starr this evening for joining us and giving us your time, sharing your previews, and, of course, answering the good questions from the audience out there. Before we get out of here, Stacy, any parting questions, comments, otherwise?
Well, I just want to say thank you very, very much to this amazing community, and thank you to the Aerie Fund for all the amazing work you guys do. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you very much. And again, Stacy, any last comments?
I just wanted to thank Starr for giving us a place to be able to form this community and make all these great friends and be able to have this great Aerie Fund adventure. This has been a wild ride.
It has indeed. Alrighty, well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for this evening, this month's edition of the Aerie Fun Live. We thank you all for joining us, and of course, tune in next month for the next edition. Of course, if you're going to be in the Austin area next week, please come on down to South by Southwest and visit the booth. Visit the good folks down at the Shroud of the Avatar booth, and you'll get to meet the developers, play the game, talk with us, and meet the folks from Merits, and much, much more going on then. And, of course, in 2 weeks, I believe it is, just a little over 2 weeks now, on the 27th of this month, the official release date for Shroud of the Avatar. And I'm going to wish you the greatest of luck, and of course, we're going to be right there by your side, rooting and tooting, and bringing in the launch with bells on. So until then, we're going to get out of here till next month. Thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time right here on the Aerie Fun Live.
Bye, guys.
There we go.
Are we clear?